7 years ago, I was called in by a foreign government with a problem. A large portion of the country were migrant workers living on $5 to $7 a day. So this was the question. How do we make these unheard voices heard and unseen faces seen? The nation's advisor had tried everything, talked to experts such as economists and even tried philosophers. All had produced a great framing of the problem. None had created a solution. The advisor then stumbled across something called design. A Google search led him to me, and before long he saw the full potential of design. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. And what better way to start this brand new channel on design than to jump straight in? Stick around till the end of the video to find out what happened in that story. In this video, I'm going to briefly introduce 3 basic design ideas and look at some simple ways that you could use them to help you in your daily life. So why is design important? Well, look around you. Everything in the world has been designed. From the seat you're sat on, to the transport you use, to the place you live, and of course, your beloved phone. Even nature follows her own rules of design if you look closely. It's the one skill that can bring any idea to life. Let's look at IKEA, for example. The founder, Ingvar Kamprad, got the idea of flat-packed furniture when they had to take the legs off a table in order to fit it into the back of his car. And yes, it was a Volvo. An idea sparked in him. Can all furniture be designed to do that, saving on packaging, transport costs and storage? Since then, over the years, IKEA has spent a huge amount on designing not only the furniture, but also the assembly experience. You may not realize it, but their process has turned all of us into carpenters, joiners and DIYers, even when we thought we couldn't. Design is a structured process that's often hidden. You might enjoy playing video games, for example, but hundreds of people will have designed the worlds, the characters, the software and the tech. And what they're doing is seeing a human need or desire and making it real. Design isn't just creative, it's analytical. It's both form and function. For me, it's also about looking good and doing good. And most important of all, it's about you, the person who's going to be using and living with my creation and making sure that it serves you well. What I've come to find through applying these principles to end users, customers and clients is that they can also be applied to life in general. And that's what this video and channel are about. What if I told you that you were already a designer? If you can think like a designer, act like a designer, and feel like a designer, every aspect of your life becomes more creative. So who am I? I'm Rama Gheerawo. I've been a designer for 25 years, but one with a difference. I've created processes, written books, spoken to tens of thousands of people, and personally led over 100 projects for global brands such as Samsung, Toyota, and Johnson & Johnson, as well as smaller community-led projects involving gender equality in Colombia to China's aging population. I'm a natural introvert. Fame was never important to me. I didn't want to be on the front cover of a magazine. I wanted to do the work that was in the magazine. That's why I'm stepping in front of the camera now. It's taken me 25 years to get here, and I want to share what I've learned with you. I've developed some of these skills as a director at the Royal College of Art in London. If you haven't heard of it, it's one of the leading design schools in the world. You'll likely use 10 to 20 designs from its graduates every day. Some names you might know include Dyson, Hyundai, Aston Martin, and a small company called Apple. They employ more RCA graduates than any other college. In this video, I'm going to break down and share some design stories I've never spoken about before. And by the end, if I've done my job, you too will see the value of design. And between this video and the videos to come, you'll know how to use design to supercharge your life. I've seen just how important design is over the last 25 years, working with some of the world's largest and most recognizable brands, and even the odd government. Coming back to why design is important, as you'll soon find out as this channel grows, I've learned that real-world stories are the best way to share my insights and experiences, whether in the boardroom, giving lectures, or even that TED Talk I did in 2017. If you're interested in having a look at that TED Talk, the link is in the description below. Right, let's get stuck in. So who remembers BlackBerry? And who remembers the time when all that we used cell phones for was making and receiving calls? They designed the best phone for email, with a full physical QWERTY keyboard and one that actually really worked. I kind of missed mine, so I brought it along for the show. But it wasn't quite hitting its full potential, and they knew it. The technologists and engineers had created the perfect device for emails, but still they knew it was capable of something way more. They knew that design could help them unleash the design's full potential, but they needed the imagination of a designer. BlackBerry messaging was born, which kicked off all mobile messaging as we know it today. BBM was the origin story for WhatsApp, WeChat, Telegram, and all the rest. So what did we do? This is going to sound too easy, but we sat and we watched. After a while, we noticed a few things. One in particular stood out. Teenagers were texting more than calling. Some of my own cousins were sending up to 150 texts a day. Phones weren't being used like they were before. A big part of design is bending your idea to people's actual needs instead of pushing what you think they need onto them. This we call technology push, user pull. In other words, great design doesn't push ideas onto people, rather it's pulled towards what people actually want and need. Companies like Apple are really good at this. So what about BlackBerry? Once we realized that BBM was the way forward, we started looking at screen designs to make it less clunky as well as more usable. Looking at what people wanted led us do a bold thing. Move away from the physical keyboard and imagine BlackBerry's first touchscreen, taking BlackBerry from being an office tool and into everyday life. We still see its DNA in all of today's messaging platform that you'll no doubt be using later today. The next idea is simple, but powerful. Test and retest an idea before you put it out. Have you heard of Dyson? Well, the man behind the brand, James Dyson, created a whole new type of vacuum cleaner through mostly prototyping. No one believed his technology would work. Using a cyclone to throw dust and dirt to the side of the container to be collected sounded like something out of Star Wars, but he didn't give up. He believed in himself and his skills as a maker. He created 5,127 prototypes in order to prove his idea. Whether you're designing a product, app, service, or building, the most clever creatives know how to test their ideas to see whether they work. Paper and cardboard are great materials for prototyping to test where your idea may or may not work, even if it's mocking up how something might look in your bedroom. Of course, nowadays we have augmented reality, and even Amazon, will let you place something in your room virtually using the cameras on your phone to give you an idea of how the item may look in your particular space. So don't be afraid of failure. Make friends with it. It's just another signpost towards your success. Prototyping simply tells you what works and what doesn't, and it's not a time to be precious. Everyone can be creative, including you. In 2017, a doctor rang me up and asked to meet. She was holding a TEDx talk for the UK's National Health Service. The audience was full of other doctors and medical professionals, and having seen some previous work we did at the Royal College of Art on ambulances, and in particular heart attack trolleys, she understood that a dose of creativity could help in the NHS, healthcare being one of the most difficult places to look for creativity. She wanted to shake them up with a very different way of thinking. She wanted me to talk about creativity, but I did something different. I didn't talk about creativity as an alien concept. I invited them into my world and showed them how design could create better healthcare solutions. At the beginning of the talk, I told them they were all creative. By the end of the talk, they believed me. I gave them some concrete examples of how simple design principles, such as the use of color, could change a person's life. We spent a lot of time in care homes. In one of them, we were told the residents had given up on life because they had stopped eating. We looked at the dining room, talked to the carers, and together we realized a couple of things. We replaced the white plates with blue ones and shone the lights onto the tables instead of the floor. The residents started eating again, and even one 90-year-old ended up putting on 20% of her body weight. The issue was that the residents could not see their food. Most care home food is white and gets lost on a white plate, especially in a badly lit room. When I shared this story in the TED Talk, medical staff who work in hospitals and homes every day realized they could actually start to solve them in the same way, using creativity. I gave them some design tools that they could use the very next day. I have an upcoming video in the works that shares and expands on these tools, so make sure you have that notification bell switched on. The same way that this TED Talk activated the inner creativity of those healthcare professionals, on this channel, I aim to activate within you. Every human is born with access to creativity. It's a tool you can use with amazing results. And that's one of the reasons this channel exists. With each video, I'm going to help you bring out your creative side, whether you feel you need a top-off or if you're starting from scratch. If you're interested in having a look at that TED Talk, the link is in the description below. So what happened with the migrant worker's story from the beginning of the video? Well, let me carry on. 14 ideas were produced by a team of medics, lawyers, economists, and lawmakers from local universities. None of them thought they were designers to begin with. We brought out the designer within them all. From these 14 ideas, 4 were shortlisted, and my personal favorite, which was even rolled out in Asia, was the story of how design led to the creation of an all-new puppet show. When we asked the migrant workers who they blamed for their difficult situation, we thought they would say the government or the construction companies, but actually they said their families were the problem, particularly parents and grandparents who signed them up to go abroad, work in the desert heat, and send money back to support 20 to 30 relatives. This surprised us. There weren't any academic papers, research, or government guidelines that thought of this. 2 women, an economist and a medic, sprung into action with the knowledge that puppet shows were a better way of reaching people in villages, even more than the internet. Their puppet show was a conversation between a mother back home and her son working on a building site abroad. She forgets to ask how he is and launches into a series of demands for money for various members of the family: a watch for an uncle, books for his sister, and a dress for an aunt. He tries to put a brave face at the beginning, but soon crumbles under the pressure, ending with them finally having an honest conversation about the difficulties he faces. How cool is that we went from a group of academics, turned them into designers, unleashed their creativity, and ended up with a puppet show that solved an issue that even a government was struggling with. If you've made it this far into the video, I hope you found some value in my lived experience and the stories I've shared. Wherever you are in your education, career, or life in general, I truly feel that applying these design concepts and creativity to the way you do things will have a huge impact. Of course, there's a hell of a lot more to design, and I found that the best way to illustrate the principles of design are through real-world examples. So if you're interested in more secrets of the design world, then hit that subscribe button and notification bell. In my next video, I'm going to give you some practical tools and unpack some productivity tips from my experiences as a designer, something I'd love to share with you. Until then, have a great week and thanks for watching.